Hi, I'm Collegiate Angler Spencer Clark. Summertime is one of my favorite times to be out on the water. You can catch fish on anything you want to do, really. Just depends on what you want to throw. What I like to do is start off with the top water in the morning a lot of times, and Omega Custom Tackle has a new buzzbait out that's just truly awesome. It's got a 4-blade prop on it that makes just a ton of noise when it's coming across the water. These two blades work together. When they come around, they hit each other each time, which produces a unique sound that you won't find in other buzzbaits. And the head design is also different than most buzzbaits out there. Whenever you're pulling this bait through grass, over timber, the bait comes through that really well. It works like a keel too, so the bait rides high in the water. It's really easy to keep at the surface where you need it. And it's got a great hook in it too. A lot of buzzbaits got some pretty shady hooks in them that you need to sharpen them, but these hooks are super sharp right out of the package. So I like to throw that buzzbait, get some big bites early in the morning before the sun gets up. Something that I truly enjoy doing in the summertime. There'll be times when those fish are missing the buzzbait, you can't get them hooked up, and so what I like to do is I always have one of these Gary Yamamoto Senkos on the deck, and I rig it with a honey hole hook. The honey hole hook does a great job of keeping your Senko on your hook, and you're not going to go through as many Senkos as you normally would. Senkos really don't last real long. A lot of times you only get 1 or 2 fish on them, but with that honey hole hook you can get a couple more fish per bait. Some of these lakes you go to, though, you can't catch them shallow. You got to get out deep on the ledges, on the humps, on the structure. And so one of the first baits I like to try when I'm searching for bass out there is a crankbait. And Norman DD22s, pretty standard. A lot of people like to throw these. I like to throw them too. It's a great bait for looking for schools of fish out on structure, humps, points, ledges. I'll throw that too. And another bait too is Smack Tackle's Giz 4, a series of deep diving crankbaits. These work great on the ledges for getting those bass to bite. You can cover a lot more water with these than you can a plastic bait whenever you're looking for those ledge fish. Something that a lot of guys are doing, they're not talking about as much this year, is they're throwing these 10-inch worms on Omega's shaky foot, shaky head jigs. And the great thing about a shaky foot is that it keeps your worm up off the bottom and gives it a lot more action than you would get with like a Texas rig. And so whenever you're working these big worms on those ledges on that structure, you're going to get a lot more bites just because there's so much more action. So it's a great bait to pick up when those fish aren't wanting to eat a crankbait. Another bait that I never leave home without is, of course, Omega Custom Tackle's football head jigs. I really like to throw the 1 ounce and the 3/4 ounce. They get down there where those fish are really quick and keep you in contact with the bottom. So they do a great job of that. And there's a couple different ways I like to work them. I like to either drag them on the bottom. I get a lot of bites doing that. Sometimes you can throw them out there, let them go to the bottom, and then just reel them like a crankbait across the bottom and lead them like that. Another thing you can also do is you can throw your jig out there, let it go to the bottom, and then give it a couple big hops up off the bottom. It's called stroking a jig, and that works really good on suspended fish. So I never leave home in the summertime without my football jigs. Something also to try if you have one of those days when there's not a lot of wind is to throw a real light jig out there. Like this is just a little 1/4 ounce jig, a little 1/4 ounce swim jig from Omega. And what I like to do with this jig is just throw it out there on those ledges, on those humps. If those fish are suspended, there's not a whole lot of wind, you can catch those suspending fish sometimes on a real light jig. Say if you're not getting bites on a jig though, and you can't get them to eat a crankbait, sometimes what you have to do is you have to pick up Carolina rig. I'm not a real big fan of Carolina rig, and I've had a lot of bad luck with breaking fish off in the past. But I was introduced to a little different setup here by one of my friends, and what you got going on here is just take any swivel and you'll tie your swivel on just like you would with a normal Carolina rig, but then tie another line off your swivel and put a drop shot weight on it. And the advantage of this rig, there's a couple of advantages. One is that when you're dragging your bait across the bottom, your line's not going to be rubbing across the bottom as much, your main line, so you're not going to break off as many fish at the swivel because your line's getting nicked up. Another thing too is whenever you do get hung up, you're just going to lose your weight. You're not going to lose your whole rig if your weight gets hung up on the bottom with this drop shot weight being on there. And so it's something that I learned from a buddy of mine that I think you should try the next time you hit the lake. Hope that everything I talked about today, using these baits, helps you put a couple more fish in the boat. Until next time, it's been Spencer Clark.